Chris Kelly, the founding member of one of the founding members of Galactic Empire, also in your original act of Illustrium. Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you being here. It's the last time I think we met. Obviously, your studio looked a little bit different. You've done a tremendous upgrade, dude. It looks great. How you been, man?
Yeah, I think the last time we saw each other was in my parents' basement, so I was definitely in like under 21 at that point. So yeah, it's been a minute.
For people who don't know, there was a bunch of local scenes in Pennsylvania, Bucks County, and Chris and I met through a couple gigs like Battle of the Bands. I mean, I was in a pop punk band, you were in a death metal, deathcore band,
Right.
and we would do some competitions and such like that. But I mean, obviously the talent was there. You were blowing people away, and you had the suburban folks like really banging their heads and moshing. It was a cool time. I love those days.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I mean, back then especially because we were kids and we were constantly being placed at family friendly events where our music was not super welcome. But I can't tell if people were enjoying it ironically or enjoying it genuinely. But either way, it was usually a good time. You know, as long as people are clapping when you're 17, you don't really know the difference.
Yeah, and Jerry and Mike, I haven't talked to them in a minute. I hope they're doing well. I know, like, we talked previously before this. You guys are still working on some new material for Illustrium. How's that going?
Yeah. Illustrium's actually got a whole second album. Well, not second, a third album. A whole new album and almost a whole new EP done as well. Like two separate.
Oh, okay.
There's different. We had the album done, and there's some plans surrounding that. I can't really talk about it too much
Yeah,
yet.
for sure.
But there's some plans surrounding that are requiring that it be pushed back for release. So we wanted to. This was before this whole pandemic hit, so it probably doesn't matter as much. But we wanted to put something together in the meantime to try to, because we've been pretty dormant for a while, just with me touring and Mike was touring with me for a little bit. So we wanted to put something out to kind of get some traffic back on the socials and sort of remind people that we're not dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be out at some point this year. We should be closing in on finishing that up hopefully the next few weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got to figure out the rollout plan for that. But yeah, so there will be an EP and then an album after that at some point, probably next year.
Mm-hmm. And then before you guys started doing that, working with the new album, I mean, Galactic Empire obviously was one of the biggest things that you involved yourself with, which is funny because I was working at a museum in Philadelphia at the time, just reading the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I know that you were still doing Illustrium in general. That was always like your baby and the music that you guys always wrote with. Then I'm reading the paper and there was an article about this metal parody like Star Wars cover band. I'm like, what? This is fucking cool. So I start reading it, and then they go into details of who was in the band. And I'm like, Chris Kelly is like, no fucking way. Like the Chris Kelly I fucking know from Doylestown. Get the fuck out of here. So I like went on Facebook and was like, oh shit, that's my fucking guy. And like I was so stoked for you. I was like, man, that kid had more passion than some of the fucking other producers I've met. I know they're still not doing much at all, but I was like so stoked for you, and I started like listening to the gig and shit. That's awesome, man. I like seeing that for those projects like that come to fruition. And I'm sure you had some kind of I'm sure you kind of had an idea like when it started to become a little bit more serious when you were writing the music or composing the music for it. You were like, let's take this to a next level. Like, what was the trigger that you pulled to do it?
It was actually the complete opposite.
Shit.
It was a joke that we just pushed as far as we could, and it got more traction than we expected. I mean, we put the first two songs together, which was the main theme in the Imperial March, just as like demos, which was mostly Grant, the drummer. I mean, he has a Rain Man level of perfect pitch. Like he is ridiculously good at like he figured out all of the parts of the orchestra just by listening bar by bar and picking out each individual note from each section and like just putting it on MIDI and then just redoing it on guitars for the demo.
That's incredible.
So yeah, all of the Galactic Empire songs are one to one with the orchestra. It's there's no creative liberties taken aside from the the guitar sounds and the fact that there's drums. That's the only thing that's actually written. Everything else is straight from John Williams, and he put those two demos together. And I can't remember if that was before or after he told me about the idea, but I had interned with Grant and Carson at their studio, which was Atrium Audio at that point.
In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, I believe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. August Burns Red, I think, went there for a little bit as well, if I'm not
they
mistaken.
still do.
Yeah.
They've produced every ABR record since Rescue and Restore, I think, was the first one they did.
Mm-hmm.
But like Carson's known the ABR guys for years and done stuff with them. Like I think he mixed like a couple of their Christmas albums before that and stuff. So they've been tight for a while. So when I was in college for audio, I got myself an internship there and just kept in contact with them after that and stayed friendly. I produced the second Illustrium record at Atrium myself, so like we had a good relationship going for a while, and Grant hit me up with the idea to do this Star Wars thing. But the idea was literally because a few years before that he did a drum video where he was just playing along to the orchestra for one of the songs, and the idea was literally to just expand on that and to make a second video, basically like another playthrough or something with more people. And I don't exactly remember how it went, but it was, the new movie's coming out. This was before Episode 7 came out, like before they rebooted the whole franchise. So it was, the new movie's coming out, so we should probably drop it the day that comes out.
It's pretty smart.
And we definitely got to do a video. Let's do a playthrough video. It'd be funny if we were in costume. If we're in costume, Carson knows. Like Carson's friends with these guys that run this whole like soundstage and film company, and they have this big ass green screen that they're down to let us use, and it just turned into this whole thing. And then by the time we were there filming, it was the biggest production I'd been a part of in my entire life. I mean, it wasn't just that they were letting us use the green screen; like the entire film crew was there.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, the production looked incredible. Like it wasn't anything standard.
Yeah, no, it was legit, dude. And like I had never been a part of anything. I had shot music videos before, but we're talking, local band music videos where there's one guy with a camera shooting multiple angles throughout the day or whatever. This was like a 40-man team. With what's the jib, that basically that crane
that lifts up the camera to be still motion.
The soundstage is like it's like a fucking warehouse. I don't even know how many square feet, but it's huge. It's called Aurora Films for anybody who wants to look it up. They're an amazing place, and the green screen's like 50 feet wide or some shit like that. It's crazy. And Carson and Grant found a whole bunch of stuff. Like they found people online, or like one guy in particular who built like 3D environments, and so they got the background for that. Carson built all of the practical effects for that video himself. So like it was like crazy levels of like DIY and I guess not so DIY in certain cases. But just a crazy amount of work went into that, and we put out the video, and we thought, like, maybe we could get, because Grant's idea for his drum video was like, I think I could get 1 million hits on this if the timing is right.
Exactly.
And he got like 400K, 500K by the end of it. But so the goal with this was basically the same thing, which was like, I think, we could probably get 1 million hits on this at some point. Everyone's kind of like stoked on the Star Wars thing, and we'll see what happens. And the first 1 million hits came in like under 8 hours or something like that. And we started getting like news coverage and all the major like press outlets, like for like music and otherwise, we're talking about this thing. And it was crazy. I mean, we were all just kind of standing there, like, at work on our phones, because we put it out at, like, 3 p.m., like, which was basically while everyone in the world was standing in line waiting to go see the new movie.
Basically, yeah. And fucking smart.
So everyone on their phones, everyone's on Facebook, and anything Star Wars is trending, so it just popped up on everybody's screen, I guess, and it went crazy. It snowballed, and so we're just like watching the views just rack up, just refresh, and every time we hit refresh, there's another 100K or something like that, like something crazy, you know. And but even after that, we were just kind of like, well, that was real sick. Like,
right.
I guess that's it, you know, like.
It's a one-hit wonder kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, but then we got an email from a producer at E, like the television station, and they were like, "Hey, we are covering the Oscars, and we want you to come play on the red carpet during the Oscars coverage."
That was the article I read. Yep. Yeah.
And we were like, "You don't understand. Like, we don't we don't know how to play this stuff. We don't have costumes because we couldn't." We didn't make money from the music video because we used Disney's imagery, you know, their IP. So we couldn't wear those on TV and get paid for it. We'd get sued, or he would get, you know, somebody would get sued. And we were like, we don't have costumes. We pieced this music together. We didn't actually play it in the video. We're wearing gloves, you know, like we're all just faking it. Like we haven't learned how to play this stuff yet. And they were like, okay, well, you know, you can either say no or you can figure out and we can fly you out to LA for a few days and pay you. And we're like, okay, fine. So we figured that out. We all learned how to play the stuff. And we got these, like, Carson's mom made these, like, Palpatine robes for us. And
fuck yeah.
And we played in our first show ever was on national TV in broad daylight with palm trees behind us and a Star Wars fashion show. And it was the weirdest fucking thing on earth. But while we were out there, we met our booking agent, Dave Shapiro, and after that, it was just like, yeah, let's make this a touring thing. And within, you know, it took about almost a year after that to like get everything. I think that was in March of 2016.
Yeah, because I think you did a US tour in 2017 or something.
Right. Yeah. So March 2016, and then by December of 2016, we had done our first show, and then in February of 2017, we were doing our first tour, and our first tour was in the UK in a bus. So, like, for anybody who's not familiar with how music goes, like when you start touring, you don't get in a bus.
You get in a van, you know, and you starve, and you load your own equipment, and you tune your own instruments.
Right. Yeah, we still had to do that. We didn't have any guitar techs or anything, but
okay, cool.
We were paid, and you know, enough to cover expenses and then some, and we were in a tour bus for 2 weeks straight for that first tour, and it was a headliner. So, and after that, it was just more of that, you know. So because we didn't plan any of it, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of flying by the seat of our pants for most of it. And then it ended. Well, it hasn't ended. My time with the band ended in December of last year. You know, I got another gig, and you know, I have a family, so I couldn't stick around with it anymore. I couldn't juggle two things. But I mean, in that 3 years that I was in that band, I mean, we'd done like some of the biggest festivals in Europe. We've done multiple headlining tours, played in arenas with Ozzy and Baby Metal and Bullet for My Valentine and like
and
all
Black
kinds
Sabbath. Like there was just a plethora of like bands that you were working with too, with the touring and shit. Like it just wasn't stopping. It just kept going. It looked like.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I mean, we never did a full on tour with like a big band. But we did all kinds of festivals with them, and then I mean, I guess the Baby Metal one was like a tour, but it was only 3 shows
for the whole country of Japan, basically. I'm sure, you know.
It was, well, not really. I mean, it was two shows in like it's technically all Tokyo, but also not. You know, like there was 2 nights at the same venue in Makuhari, and then 1 show in Saitama. So those are like outside of Tokyo, but like anyone who doesn't know anything about Japan, it's just they just call it Tokyo because Tokyo is so huge.
Yeah, it is pretty huge. Yeah.
So I guess that was like a tour, but because we didn't because it wasn't very long, like we didn't really consider it to be a tour. We were just a special guest on a couple of shows, you know. But that was a really cool experience too. I mean, we played the first 2 shows, and then we had a week in between the second show and the third show. So we just got to like, or maybe it was like 4 days or something. But we got to really explore a lot of cool parts of Tokyo and stuff. And so that was definitely a bucket list kind of moment for me. But
yeah, I've always wanted to visit Japan too. It's just I'm sure it was a culture shock when you first got there, but it's one of the most laid back. I mean, they're the way they go about their culture. They're very polite, like you were saying earlier. It's just that's who they are as people. I had a friend who was in Okinawa, Japan, on base for the Marines. And you know, even when you set a red light, like nobody honks their horn, and that red light will circle through. Or a green, and then go to a green light. You sit there through the green light, and then it'll circle through back to a red light, and nobody does anything. It's just wait. Like it's just a very peaceful culture.
Yeah, they're very, very passive in Japan. Very, very level-headed and calm. You know, they might
David Metal's music. You know,
for all you know, they might be screaming on the inside, but there is. From what I understand, it is very rare in Japan for there ever to be any sort of like real outburst. You know, if someone's really mad, you know, and they don't have to yell at you for you to know. You know.
Yeah, exactly. You can just kind of tell by body language.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but it's a really cool place. It's one of, I mean, Tokyo is easily top 2 you know, destinations that I've been to in the world. And, for good reason.
When you were touring out in Japan, I mean, like, do you still keep in communications with some of the people that were on that tour? Like, was it just Galactic Empire, G, and Baby Metal, or was there like other supporting acts?
It was well for the first 2 shows, it was just us and Baby Metal, and then for the third show, it was Galactic Empire, Sabaton, and Baby Metal. And so I'm still like, I'm not like on the phone with the Sabaton guys at all, but like if they come through a city that I'm in or something, like on my last tour in the States. You know, I was in, I think it was like Portland or something. I had a night off, and they were playing at a club down the street from the hotel. So I, you know, went over to hang out with them for a little bit. So like, still friendly with those guys, but I wouldn't call it like, you know, like we're like buds. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, I mean, it's a cool experience working over there too, just because Japanese crew is just on another level. I mean, in the States, even, you know, okay, or let's do a contrast with Europe. So when Galactic Empire we played an arena date with Ozzy. And awesome. When we got there, it was, you know, just a bigger version of a normal load-in. Whoever's with Galactic Empire is in charge of getting Galactic Empire shit on stage, plugged in, ready to go. Any problems are on you, right? That's just how it goes. In Japan, before Galactic Empire flew out there, the stage crew had asked for specs and pictures of all of our stuff. And when we landed, our stuff got put on a truck and sent to the venue. And when we got to the venue, all of our stuff was set up and plugged in, like to spec. Like Grant sat down, didn't have to do anything to his drum kit. Like it was all perfect. And yeah, it's just it's a whole other level of work ethic over there. And it was really inspiring too, because you know, you got to see what is in my opinion kind of the pinnacle of efficiency in stage work. You know,
yeah, especially with those huge stadium shows. I mean, you're selling out to crowds over probably hundreds of thousands of people. So I mean, to have the blueprint right there in front of their faces, and then to implement it and just get it there before the actual act comes to the gig, like that's incredible. I've never heard of that personally, but I think America, you guys should really step up your fucking game.
Right. But yeah, it's and even the way that we were treated by the Baby Metal team, you know, the producer Koba came in to introduce himself. He came in our green room and he said, you know, like, thanks for being here or whatever. And they were letting us use their video wall. But their stage was set up in a way that had to be, it was like on chains, and it had to be lifted up, and it covered part of the video wall.
Oh shit.
And he came in and apologized and was like, hey, I'm really sorry that the video wall is covered up. Like, we didn't know it was going to be like that until today. And we're like, why are you apologizing to us? Like, we're the opener. Like, we don't matter, you know? And he's like, no, you're the special guest. Like, he took an effort, or made an effort to make that distinction. And it just, again, I mean, it's just another another of many examples of how different and how welcoming the Japanese culture can be. Because I'm used to touring in the States, and being
Mm-hmm.
in local bands, and I mean even something as successful as Galactic Empire turned out to be, even in Galactic Empire, if we showed up a couple minutes late to a load-in at a festival or something, we were getting yelled at. Like, luckily, we usually had a good excuse because we used terrible bus companies most of the time. So, like, I think at one time we loaded into Grass Pop, and we were like 20 minutes late or something because we were opening the stage that we were on, and the stage manager was like, "Where the fuck have you been? Like, why are you here?" And I was like, "Dude, our driver has no fucking idea what's going on. I'm so sorry." And he goes, "What bus company do you have?" And I said, "Absolute." And he goes, "Say no more. It's fine. Get your shit in." Like, he was like, he understood immediately. Like, that is, if anybody out there gets to a point where you're touring in Europe and you start looking at different bus companies to use,
do not go to Absolute.
do not go to Absolute. I mean, well, you might have to based on your budget. That's why people use them, is because they're very affordable. But yeah, Absolute Touring. For instance, Absolute Touring was the company that supplied the bus when Dillinger Escape Plan had their bus crash in Europe. So yeah,
not a fan of that.
So I don't want to get myself sued. I don't know who was responsible for what.
Exactly. All we know is their bus.
And at one point, this was also at Grass Pop. Our stage tech came because the buses are parked behind the main stage, and so and you kind of go under the stage to get back out to the bus area. And our tech came out, found our bus, put in the door code, and walked on, and realized that when he was on there, all of a sudden he's surrounded by a completely different group of people. And I think it was Killswitch's bus, if I'm not mistaken. And he was like, "Oh shit, I'm really sorry. I think I'm on the wrong bus." And they were like, "Oh, it's fine, dude. Like, you're good." And he starts walking out, and he stops. And he turns to the driver and goes, "Wait a second. Does every Absolute touring bus have the same door code?" And the guy just went, they're all German bus drivers. And the guy just goes, "Yeah." Like, what the fuck?
That's fucking safety protocol fucking 101 for anybody out there. Jesus Christ.
So that was the day that we found out that every single one of their buses had the same code. So I might, depending on how many people see this, I might have just gotten somebody robbed. So I hope not.
No, I hope not either. We're at 11 viewers, so I think we're doing okay for people who are in Europe, or if not, I think my algorithm is mostly United States. So if anybody's going to Europe, please do not use those same passcodes if you know the passcode.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what the passcode is. So.
Okay, good. We won't announce that then. That's crazy, dude. Fucking, it's cool because when you did the Galactic Empire, when you guys started, I didn't know, but you had also Clinton. I think he was Redguard. He's from Lancaster. He tours with Carousel Kings. Every once in a while. How did you guys pick your members? Like, was it you and Grant, and then you guys kind of just scouted the local area to see if you guys can get together for rehearsal? Like, how'd that go?
Yeah, so
I love that kid.
Me, Grant, and Carson from the start. So, me doing guitar, Grant doing drums, Carson doing bass. And we just needed people for our first video. Mm-hmm. And so one of those guys was CJ, who started out as the Shadow Trooper. We called him Shadow Ranger, to not get sued. And then eventually put on the Kylo Ren costume, or as we called him, Kyle. So he's been there since pretty much day one, since the first music video. And then Clinton was actually later on. So Redguard in the first two music videos, I think, was CJ's friend Josh Willis. And then Mike from Illustrium was Redguard for most of the time. The only time that Clinton was around was as Mike's fill-in. So he filled in on the first Europe tour that we did. He filled in on the US tour that we did with Max Sabbath, and then he filled in Japan. I think that was it. And then any show is like that. Fill-in explains it. Any show that Mike wasn't able to do, Clinton was there. And then when Mike decided to leave, Clinton became the guy. And I mean, Clinton is a ridiculous. Both CJ and Clinton are both
fucking good.
Guitar players, and they make me feel inferior every single day. Those dudes do things with guitars that I just can't understand.
His production value is fucking incredible. He just hit 1 million streams on his sweeping video, which congratulations,
Mhm.
dude, if he's watching. Yeah, I met him at a Carousel Kings show where I knew some of the local bands were playing, but I also knew Carousel Kings because they're alumni of CI Records, so we kind of have a relationship with that. And
Right.
I met Clinton for a hot second. Cool fucking dude, but like his just passion, in general with video production and editing and like probably using Adobe After Effects. Like, dude, it's fucking incredible. It's like this kid cannot stop, man. Like, just like with your
Yeah.
production with music, like, because you're still. I don't want to derail the conversation. We'll get back to that. But are you? So you still produce and you still write. You're writing with Illustrium and such. But do you take classes? Like, I remember seeing something somewhere that you do host classes if people are wanting to learn how to play guitar or learn some
Yeah.
production.
I do guitar lessons. I mean, it's not like it's not a huge source of revenue for me, but I do
Mm-hmm.
offer guitar lessons and production lessons and things like that. Production lessons can get a little bit more difficult just because the streaming capabilities without splurging on a whole bunch of specific equipment can be kind of
Yeah,
difficult in terms
true.
of like getting your DAW audio to go through properly and stuff like that. But we make it work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I still do produce bands, and I do a lot of it from the road. I'll track an album here or something, and then I'll be mixing it while I'm somewhere in Australia or wherever I am. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I just kind of I try to diversify as much as possible, and keep my hands in as many projects as I reasonably can in terms of how much time I've got.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, no, I wanted to throw that out there because if they want to, if anybody that watches or sees this video or hears this audio in the near future, how do they reach you? Do they reach you through a Facebook page or do they reach you through email?
Yeah, I
How do you
have
want them
a
to
I
reach
have
you?
I have an official Facebook page, which is it's guitarist Chris Kelly, so guitarist Chris Kelly, and then Instagram. I have two different Instagram pages. There's one that's technically, and I think the same thing for Facebook. I have two different Facebook pages and two different Instagram pages, one for guitar and one for production. But the
Okay.
production the production one is probably going to start being phased out because it doesn't have as much engagement as the guitar one. So I think I'm just going to kind of merge the two. But
Okay. Yeah, if anybody's interested, I'll put that in the comment section or not the comment section, the description below when this goes up on YouTube.
the core of the group by the time I left was me, Grant, Carson, CJ, and Clinton. Um, and that was, I mean, the red guard position was the only one that was ever really rotated
Okay.
between a couple different people. Everybody else was a mainstay, and the rest of the guys are all still doing the band. I mean, they had a tour. I mean, we all had tours scheduled before all this shit hit. So,
Hmm.
all of us were supposed to be somewhere else in the world in June, but that's not going to happen. Um,
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
yeah, but yeah, no, they're all still chugging away at it, and there's another project that the lot of us are starting to work on as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean the core of the group for the most part was me, Grant, and Carson, and then CJ and Clinton. Started to become more sort of like they became partners as opposed to employees as things went on.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, no, it's crazy because like I don't know. I just known the guy for so long, so he's been traveling back and forth. So it kind of makes sense of how you were swapping Redguard and such. Dude, Max Sabbath must have been a blast touring with. Those guys look crazy. Like they're nuts on stage. Are they as nuts as they are backstage? I love those
They're
fucking guys.
they're super chill guys. The tour at the time was the most successful tour that we had done, and I think it's just because like we don't musically we didn't fit with Max Sabbath, but
Hmm.
image wise we did, and I think that's the reason that the tour went so well
Hmm.
is because we had this ridiculous flyer made, this like cartoon like movie poster looking thing with all the characters from both bands on it, just doing crazy shit. And I think that wherever that flyer was posted, whether it was in a window or online or anything, I think anytime somebody saw it, they're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, but I gotta go. You know, and,
Yeah.
and that tour did really well. It was a club tour, but I mean, it was we had some nights where we were packing out. I think the highest highest show was probably like 1,500 or something like that, maybe two. I don't remember, but we had a lot of good turnouts, and some better than others. I mean, if you go to Boise or something, it's usually gonna suck. But
I'm sure, yeah, the middle of nowhere.
In the A markets, things went really well, and generally the response for both bands was great, and we were able to kind of turn up the humor aspect of it during that tour, and put some jokes into the set. There were always jokes in the set, but we got to do it a little bit more there, just because everyone's not taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah,
we all knew what we were. But no, they're a great group of dudes. And the last time that I was out in LA, I hung out with. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their names, so I hung out with the Hamburglar.
Yeah, just
for a while
out at McDonald's for a little bit. Like, I'm sure that was a treat, dude.
Right. I don't remember how. How locked down they keep their names, so I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, because Slipknot's done it for years. Then you have Guar, who also held their identities. Like, no, I totally feel it. It's such an interesting. That is interesting to me, going through that that way of playing that character, because nobody knows who you are. You're a complete mystery.
Yeah,
which is fucking
cool.
I
mean, it can definitely. It's a double-edged sword for people like me who grew up wanting to be rock stars, because you get to a point where you're like, I guess I'm sort of doing what I wanted to do. That's pretty cool, but no one fucking knows my name.
They just know my stage name. You can't even tell your friends or family about your stage name. Like, so why does Chris leave for like months at a time? Oh, he works for a construction company, so he just goes and builds cranes or something out in Texas or some shit. Like, it's like the worst excuses that you could fucking put out there.
Being a superhero that does absolutely no good. But it's. I mean, I was able to tell people what I did with Galactic Empire, and fortunately, I don't know if that's the right word, but I would usually end up doing most of the interviews, and so I did a couple, more than a couple, but I started telling people, like, look, and this was partially for me as like the musician, the public image, and also just for me personally, sanity wise. I started eventually telling people, like, look, I'm more than happy to do as many interviews as anybody wants me to do, but they're gonna be talking to Chris. They're not gonna be talking. They're not gonna be talking to Vader, because I'm not Darth Vader. Like, you can't ask me, like, what are your plans for the rebel scum or what? Like, I don't fucking know, dude. I'm not Darth Vader. I don't know how to answer that question. If we did, like, sometimes we would do, like, in-costume video interviews, but what we'd have to do for that is, like, they would ask us the questions, we would just say whatever, and then they would send us the video footage, and I would have to, like, overdub and do the Vader voice and whatever.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For them to then put the thing out, because nobody wants to see. Well, first of all, like, my stage costume is a non-infringing costume, so
it doesn't look like Vader. There's a little bit of, like, changes to it due to copyright reasons, but you can definitely tell it's not a Darth Vader costume. Correct? Yeah.
It looks like a duck. So like, seeing somebody in a, like, grocery store off-brand, that's how Carson used to put it, grocery store off-brand Darth Vader costume. And then when they're like, so, like, I don't have a low voice, so it's like, oh, what's your plan for the rebel scum? And it's like, well, like,
well, we're going to take those X-Wings down first, and then
yeah, exactly.
Luke will be demolished. Fucking A.
The power of the dark side. So I eventually just started saying, like, look, if you want an in-character interview, it has to be written. I have to have time to formulate my responses. If you want to have an in-person interview where you've got me on a mic, like, or a camera or something like that, you're just talking to the dude, because I can't keep up. Like, I can do the Vader persona if I have some time to think about it, but I'm not that good at it to be off the cuff. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't know. You just don't also want to be crossing that line where it becomes a little bit not as legal as you'd think. Like, Disney never reached out to you guys, right? Like that. I'm sure they probably completely ignored you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, we're definitely on their radar because like we've met, mutual connections, like people who work at Lucasfilm and things like that, and they know who the band is.
Right, for sure.
But I think the band keeps itself safe where it needs to. I mean, the music is licensed; it's all parody. The costumes are altered to not infringe. The names are altered to not infringe. There's no swearing in the show. There's nothing that could potentially damage the brand. So I think all of those reasons combined are kind of what keeps it safe. But who knows? I mean, it might get to a point where the guys start making some more money, and then Disney's like, mine, But we'll see.
Yeah, they might buy it from you guys or something, and then just take advantage
Oh,
of it.
I wouldn't think they'd buy it. I think they would just be like, no, you can't do that anymore, and now you owe us money.
Oh my god, that's the last thing you guys need. It's not like you're going to be playing in their park anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, I wish those dudes the best, and they're still very good friends of mine. And so I hope that they never receive any kind of cease and desist or any sort of negative documentation like that. I hope they're able to keep it going and do everything that they want to with it.
I'm sure they won't, because I know, like, as a PR like situation, I think Disney they'd be foolish to do that due to the fact that the band is being basically a G-rated metal cover version of it, so like that nobody's doing anything wrong. I feel like that would just be something that would put Disney under a radar. Like, why would they just stop this? We thoroughly enjoy this, and then people start reaching out like, hey, this isn't fair, blah, blah. It's not like you guys are selling like their lightsabers. It's not like you're building custom lightsabers at your show like they do in Disney. It's like you just guys are, playing.
Yeah, I mean, as it is right now, I don't think the band is in any kind of danger. Just depends on, I know that especially Grant has a lot of big ideas for how to grow it and expand it, and obviously for his sake, I hope all of that stuff is able to come to fruition. But obviously, the bigger that a project gets, the more scrutiny you end up under. So, but that being said, I mean, I think it's been happening for long enough, and everyone kind of knows the lines that you shouldn't cross. So as long as they're able to kind of maneuver those things, or get different partnerships or whatever they're able to get, I'm sure it's fine.
So you must have gotten like a pretty good opportunity for you to make that like really drastic decision. I mean, you're working on Illustrium's album, or the next one that's coming out, or EP, as you were saying earlier, and then you're working some solo stuff. Like, is that like what's in the works for you now that you kind of like walked away from that? I'm sure you got to be doing something. There's no way you're stopping. You know what I mean?
Right. So I am still touring professionally. Unfortunately, I'm not able to say the band that I tour with, because that's
okay.
part of my contract. But I mean, I'm sure you could Google it. I'm sure you could figure it out. But I just can't be the one. I'm not gonna be the one to say it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I do still do that as close to full time as I can. It's not. Luckily, it's not something that takes up 200 days a year like a lot of guys have to do. I don't think I'd be able to do that with trying to be with my family and stuff. So I'm glad that I was able to find a gig that was conducive to my family life. But that's been my bread and butter for probably 6 or 8 months now.
Okay.
Since late last year, and then. And then Illustrium, I mentioned before, has some stuff in the works, and then the one good thing about the world ending is that I have time to, write my solo material, which I've been wanting to do for a long time, and didn't really know what sort of direction I wanted to go with it, and but it's given me the time to sort of iron out those details and really get to work on it. So I don't exactly know when that will be done. I would like to have it written by the end of the year.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable, but I don't totally know. But I mean, I will be pushing that pretty hard whenever it's ready to come out.
So it's not going to be like a Game of Thrones parody cover band at all, like, or
No.
anything like that. No. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty fucking sick, though. Should I give you some of those ideas? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'd definitely join that.
My face will be in plain view, and it will be my name, because I need some remotely narcissistic outlet, I guess.
This is my
music.
music.
Name to be attached to something,
Yeah.
It was Darth Vader, and now I'm a nameless. when I say Nameless, I don't play for Ghost. I want everyone to know that that's not my gig.
God, I love that fucking band so much. Love that band.
People ask me that a lot when I say that I can't. When I say, oh, I can't now, I can't really talk about it. They're like, oh, you play for Ghost, don't you?
I can understand the correlation. They don't really say much either. I completely forgot about them. Yeah.
But dude, no way could I fit in. When I don't. If anybody's seen Ghost play, those guitar players are skinny, dude. Like those guys. Those guys fit in some tight ass clothes. That wouldn't work for me. If I played for Ghost, you would fucking know, because I wouldn't fit in the outfit. It'd be a problem.
Yeah. So, it's like, why is this bass player a little bit oval more than the others? This is very strange. Aren't they supposed to be dead? They're supposed to be skeletons. That's their gimmick. Like they're skeletons. Right. What the fuck? Yeah. Oh my god.
But, so my main gig went from being in a Darth Vader mask to now being in a costume that holds no significant name. So solo material will definitely be under the name Chris Kelly, just so that I can have some level of satisfaction that I put something out and it's just me, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Did you get an endorsement from Kaiser Guitars? Kiesel. I thought it was Kiesel. Yeah. I was like, why did I say Kaiser? My brain had a little fart. Because you guys used to play Jackson's all the time, if I'm not mistaken. That was
Mike
a go-to. Mike was Jackson,
Mike is still with Jackson. Mike is still with Jackson. He, and I say still, I have never been with Jackson. I think they're sick, but I've just never had to deal with them. My first guitar deal was with PRS, and that was shortly after Galactic Empire dropped. So I was with PRS for 2 years, I think. 2 years. And then I started working with Kiesel the year I got my first Kiesel when I was out with Max Sabbath. So when we were out on that tour, I got my first Kiesel from them, which was this guy that called it the lightsaber, got the red fretboard and shit.
Oh,
so this was
so gorgeous.
Yeah, so that was the Vader guitar.
That's pretty fucking sick.
But yeah, so I've been working with them for a couple years, almost 3 years at this point, and it's been great so far. So
that's awesome.
I endorse Kiesel, Fishman, the Fluence pickups. I've been playing them for a while now. Ken is the man, and then Ernie Ball for strings and Dunlop for picks and various accessories, and then you guys can see this Mesa Boogie stuff behind me.
Yeah.
And there's
the 5150 you still have. I know. I remember you used to have a 5150.
No, but the Axe FX3 is that's the main hub for just about everything. I don't really use amps. Where's the top of my screen?
I know what you mean. Yeah, you're good.
I don't use real amps live for just about anything anymore because it's too much stuff to lug around. So the Axe FX is the main one. So so Kiesel, Fishman, Ernie Ball, Dunlop, Mesa Boogie, and Fractal is the list.
You think I'm going to designing a guitar maybe, like something custom for your own sake, like something that you really want to do?
Kiesel's all custom. So
okay.
Everything that I've had for them was all built for me.
Okay, yeah, they looked all custom, but I know they probably push out signatures every so often that you. Well, I guess that's the same thing. Yeah, when I got the endorsement through Truth, obviously that's all custom as well. I mean, I just wanted my specs how I wanted them, and it turned out to be a fucking gorgeous kit. It's just one of those things that people say, oh, someone might steal it. I'm like, if somebody steals this fucking drum set, I know it's my drum set. Nobody has this fucking drum set, dude.
Yeah, there definitely is something. There's something to be said about being able to build your own stuff. I have had nothing but good experiences with Kiesel and stuff, but I think they're probably the only company that can do that much of a full custom shop and keep the quality as consistent as they do. Because I know there are other companies that sort of try to do that and it doesn't work out quite as well, or they don't have the same level of output, so they can't take on the same amount of orders and things like that. And so that's why most of the big companies are just operating on production models because the specs for this one model of guitar are going to be for every single one of those, and so they can refine it and get everything real dialed in and just have the same consistent quality control. But Kiesel's been great. All the stuff that they've built me has lasted and really held up well on tour. I haven't had any neck warp on me. I don't have any frets sprouting or any weird stuff like that. Everything's held up real well, and it's been a good experience so far. But yeah, everything, and they do have some signature artists. Andy James is on there. Mark from Veil of Maya. Lee from Born of Osiris has one.
Doesn't Mark Holcomb have one as well from Periphery? I
No,
believe
but Holcomb is PRS.
he is PRS. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. He did. I think he did play. I think he did play their stuff for a while when they were still called Carvin. He played Carvin for a while, but no, his sig models are PRS. But no, I think they have a few other signature guys on there. But yeah, I mean their whole appeal is the fact that it's all custom shop. So whether it's an official sig model or not, it's something that's built to your specs, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And with I know you basically got on the map with both Galactic Empire and your personal music. You as a producer, guitar player, and everything. Do you maybe have an idea of working with other musicians, such as anybody from Periphery? Because I know that's a huge community that everybody is a fan of everybody. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you've been maybe in the works of working with somebody out there.
Nolly did a guest solo on the second Illustrium record, and that was right before he officially joined Periphery. So I guess we technically done something. But
yeah.
no, but Mike and I know Misha. Mike is a lot closer with him than I am, but Misha's a good dude. And yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea of working with anybody. I mean, whenever I've got my solo material together, if there's any room for guest solos with people that I know or whatever, I'm absolutely down to have people on tracks, or if there's a drummer I really like and want to have him track it or something. I mean, I've been collaborating with people my whole life, so I'm absolutely down to do that kind of stuff. But that being said, there's nothing
in the works.
No, there's nothing in the works. Also, again, Misha's a good dude. We know each other. That being said, I don't think there's any reason to think that he'd have any time for me being like, hey, dude, you want to make a record? I don't think there's any real. I don't think he has anything to gain from that. So,
no.
Rightfully so. I don't think there would be anything that I could interest him in anyway.
That's cool. No, that's cool that you built those relationships. Yeah, I just saw them recently. Fuck, what was it? They were on tour with Dance Gavin Dance, and you could definitely tell the fans apart from DGD fans and Periphery fans, because all the Periphery fans were the demographic was male, and then mostly male,
right.
And then mostly musicians. It was a great fucking show, because I think Hail Stand's a great album. I was really stoked when they released that. But yeah. I haven't seen them in a while. But yeah, so I'm gonna put your information in the description so people can hit you up for lessons. I know that's something that you do on the side, but some people are probably interested and just don't have that knowledge of getting to you. But is there anything that Illustrium would be taking part in with tours or anything in the near future, or are you guys just gonna strictly release albums?
Not officially. We do have a booking agent. His name's Dan DeFonts. Books. I mean, at this point, the amount of tech death bands that guy is booking is kind of countless. He's Rivers of Nile's agent, Beneath the Massacre's agent. He does a whole bunch of stuff. So we do work with him, and we do have some soft plans of how to do stuff, but Illustrium's members are also at a point where doing the usual type of grind touring that a band of that style and of that little notoriety would have to do is not always conducive to the lives that we live. So we have to pick our spots very, very carefully and very strategically. So I don't really, never say never, of course, but I don't really see Illustrium becoming a thing that's going to be a full-time touring gig for any of us. That being said, it's going to be something, unless something terrible happens with the relationships in the band, I don't see that project ever stopping completely. Even if it's just a few shows a year or one tour a year or no shows ever again, and we're just releasing music when we have it. It's been Mike and I's brainchild for over a decade at this point, so I don't really see that stopping.
Yeah, I don't doubt that you guys would stop anytime soon, or like you said, the relationships would fall apart, because that's just, you guys have been best friends since back in the early 2000s, so I don't think that's going to change. But dude, it was fucking nice catching up with you. I haven't seen you in a minute, but I appreciate you taking the time. This was congratulations on everything. I'm really looking forward to the new stuff you're putting out there. I really do. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna be some
appreciate
cool
it.
shit,
Yeah,
man.
I appreciate the invite. It was cool catching up for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot that we'll probably still talk about after the podcast, but I appreciate it. So I'm gonna, and if anybody's interested in taking Chris's lessons for production or guitar, I'm gonna put it in the comments once it's uploaded to YouTube. I'm gonna say I have an upload on Monday, and then I'll have your upload on Friday. So if anybody's interested in taking lessons with them, this episode will be uploaded on YouTube by Friday. So I appreciate it, man.
Cool.
It was good talking to you. I'll catch up with you in the near future.
All right. Peace,
Appreciate
man.
it. Take care. Bye.